Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Saurabh sir. I believe we have our second panelist, Ajuka ma'am, also here. Just waiting for one more panelist. I believe we'll be starting in the next 20 seconds or so. Welcome, welcome to AIC BIMTECH. Good morning. Good morning, everyone in the panelist and in the attendees as well. Okay, Ajuka ma'am is also here. I believe there's some issue with the background. Uh, Ma'am, I'll just check this from my end as well.
I think maybe because it's Apple, it happens with the
Yeah.
yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just switch off your virtual background. That
Okay.
will, yeah. If you can do it from your end as well, just go to the video section and
Okay, I'll
switch
just
off. Yeah.
Yeah, hi Karthikeyan. People here. Hi.
Hello, hello, sir. Welcome, welcome. I'll just add you. Yeah.
Sure.
Hello, sir. Cool.
Hi.
So we have our panelists here. Let's start off the session. Uh, Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm good morning to all of you. We, AIC BIMTECH team, welcome you all to our second day of Investor Summit Connect 2023, dedicated to revitalizing and connecting entrepreneurs to the enablers of the ecosystem. It is our pleasure to welcome all our esteemed guests who have joined us today to unleash India's immense entrepreneurial potential through startups. The Atal Incubation Center BIMTECH initiated this event, Connect 2023, not just to strengthen the existing relations with the ecosystem stakeholders, but to set out a mission to bring the promising startups in front of investors who are breaking boundaries and demonstrating an immersive level of success in the market. Incubation is not just about supporting born ideas and young businesses. It is also about sustaining and improving lives that contribute to nation building from the world's most ancient civilization to a nation which will be a torchbearer to the future. Welcome to the showcase of the makers of New India. Welcome to Connect 2023. The topic for today's panel discussion is what went wrong learning from the big misfires. But before I brief you more about the topic, let me take this opportunity to introduce you to the speakers for today's session, starting alphabetically with Miss Ajuka Mahajan. Well, Miss Mahajan is one of the few women proudly associated with general aviation, and she is the co-founder of BookMyJet and 4C Aviation Private Limited, a 9-year-old private aircraft charter organization. 4C is all about flying in luxury and style, with safety being the most concern. The goal is to make your flying a memorable activity. Her latest initiative, Book My Jet, is targeted to make a private jet flying an affordable, convenient, and easy affair. Book My Jet is a single national level platform for private jet booking that allows you convenient, easy, and transparent booking service at your fingertips. The best thing about the app is affordability. You can easily book a private jet or a helicopter of your choice at a price that fits your budget. Well, if I have to sum her up in a sentence, and as Miss Mahajan quotes, she is an entrepreneur, galvanator, daydreamer, wildlife and sports enthusiast, thalassophile, music fanatic, traveler, and a passionate aerophile. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. Welcome to the panel. Next, Mr.
thank you so much,
Dera.
Karthikeya, for the wonderful introduction. My face is not blue; it's appearing blue. I don't know why. I'm not able to
Okay,
change.
okay.
So let it.
Ma'am, we'll certainly do something.
No, let it be. Let it be. It's fine. So you can go on
Okay,
with the introduction. Yeah.
yeah, if you can go to the option where it's showing in the right side stop video, there's an arrow button. And if you go there, you can choose a virtual background. And in those settings, you can just turn off the virtual background settings. That
I'll
will do
just
the.
try. If it happens, it's okay. Otherwise, it's fine. It's perfectly okay.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, Next, Mr. Saurav Dera. Saurav is the co-founder and CEO of Advantage Club, a global platform for employee engagement with features like rewards, flexible benefits, communities, and perks on a unified platform. In his current capacity, he is responsible for strategic decision, product development, and overall business successes. With a master's degree in computer science from UCLA and an engineering background, Saurav majored in machine learning and data mining. He started his professional journey with Amazon and Microsoft in the US. At Amazon, he created the first version of the platform search for Amazon devices. Before setting off on his entrepreneurial journey in 2016, Saurav now aims to revolutionize employee engagement globally by managing the employee life cycle focused on experience. Thank you for joining, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Karthik.
And finally, Mr. Vipul Sharma. Vipul is the founder and CEO of Checkbook.com, a Gurugram and Bangalore-based startup and India's first neobank for small business owners. Vipul has built and led teams across retail assets and insurance and is passionate about customer experience and the interplay of technology and people in helping achieve customer delight. At Checkbook, Vipul has established a strong foundation, cemented strategic partnerships across product categories, hired leaders, and brought in an open and transparent culture. Due to his expertise and rich experience in the banking industry, Vipul understands the challenges faced by the small business owners in India and in availing formal banking, lending, and insurance services. We are very happy to have you on this panel, sir. Welcome.
Great to
Okay.
be here.
And my name is Karthik Menon. I work for Atal Incubation Center BIMTECH, one of the leading incubation centers in India. We proudly say that we are sector agnostic and our vision is to incubate infinite possibilities. I am here with my colleagues from AIC, Manish, Rutuparna, Shreyas, Karan, and Kapil.
We
Good
Welcome,
morning,
all
everyone.
of you.
The very next
Good morning.
everyone.
Okay, so I request you to just mute yourselves. Okay, so our topic, what went wrong? Learning from the big misfires clearly indicates that there is something very wrong here. just, just kidding. So, as we all know, it's always that we celebrate the success every time. It's always about the winnings, the profits, the fundraisers, the rank ones, the toppers. But we very often see the failures, the misfires catching the limelight, the losses, the shutdowns, the fall downs. On a very lighter note, it is actually the first breakup that which teaches you the most about being in a relationship than starting a new one. It gives you clarity in life on what you need and what you want. Personally, whatever I have learned in the lifespan of 23 years, I must say the largest proportion of the learning have come from the times I have failed to achieve anything. So, before going to our first speaker, I would like to request our audience to add their questions in the Q&A box and Manish will select them and send it to us at the end of the session. So, to start with today's speakers, I would like to start with Ms. Mahajan. Ma'am, please let us know your thoughts on this topic, learning from the big misfires. And I'm very sure that somewhere you resonate to the same as well. Let us know how many big misfires you had to go through on starting your journey with Book My Jet. Ma'am, please.
So, BookMyJet is the first tech platform in India, and being one of its kind, it had its own challenges, and which any other product or service, innovative product or service would face. So, me and my partner, who's the other director in BookMyJet, we come from a non-tech background. That was a big challenge for us. So, the first mistake we did was to hire a tech company without doing the due diligence. So, and then we corrected it obviously. And the second mistake, which we corrected immediately, was to let the tech company do mistakes, which costed us dearly, and which actually made us learn a technical part of our app. So now nobody can fool us. And the third, I would say that as a company, we don't believe in a word called failure. It's either success or learning. For instance, when we very aggressively launched our platform, and that actually without consolidating few features for our app, so that made us learn to go like to search more and to rework on our strategies, and we did that. So short and sweet, these are the mistakes we did actually.
Cool. Actually, ma'am, we also were looking forward to see this word in the same way. Actually, failures is actually a very negative word. So we chose misfires as the word for the session today. Okay, so those were some beautiful insights. Saurav sir, my next question is to you. So you started your journey by working in such great companies like Oracle, Amazon, and even Microsoft. The shift from working at such big firms and starting your own advantage club must have a lot of misfire stories. Please shed some light on a few of them and let us know how well you resonate with today's topic. So please.
Yeah, so I think in a startup journey, misfires are like literally daily affairs. I think we all make mistakes on a daily level. But yeah, the biggest ones that we made initially was just the like go to market. The in terms of identifying who would be our relevant client, we started with the SME, and we are an employee engagement space. And we kind of realized that in a 10 people company, employee engagement is not that big a problem, but it's for the larger company. I think that was the biggest misfire where we kind of spent a couple of years trying to push through that button, hoping that scale would solve for that. But then we kind of pivoted to start focusing on a mid to large and more holistic approach to the employee engagement, which solved our problem. But yeah, like Ajuka also said, we also don't believe that misfires are literally failures. So in our company, we have a thesis that you don't make a mistake twice. It's okay to make any mistake once. And as an organization, we try to share learnings with each other so that at an org level, we don't make same mistakes again and again. And otherwise, I would say, so a lot of things in this world are just like, as a startup, you're constantly innovating. Even when you have achieved some scales to get to the next level, you're always experimenting, and misfires would happen, and you just have to learn and move on from there.
Surely, sir. Those were some great insights as well as a motivation for all of us. Vipul, sir, you have worked at such reputed banks of this country at different domains, from marketing to product to even sales. And then you start checkbook.com, which I believe is quoted as India's first instant zero balance current account. So, thus the road has always been smooth for you. What's your story of misfire, sir?
Yeah, no, so I think a couple of things, right? So one is obviously I'm a first-time founder, like a lot of the other people perhaps on the call, right? So, and I come from a retail asset banking background. I'd never been in corporate banking, right? So which is a slightly more glamorous part of banking. So the first, the first struggle really was to raise funds because I launched the company in like 2016, 2017. And at that time, it wasn't, you didn't have a lot of these incubators and accelerators like you have today. So I think the first step was really convincing other people about the idea and figuring out actually who needed to be convinced. Right. And, I think one of the things that I did and I think could be helpful is, get in touch. For example, we had a chartered accountant, right, because we were incorporating a company. And that CA was the one who actually managed to get us connected because he was already in the financial services space. Very simple thing, but then it lets you start meeting a few more people. So I think that's important for somebody who's come from a non-investing, never raised funds kind of a background. So I think that was super important. I think the second thing that we realized is that we started doing product development, and we would sometimes spend 6 months building a product on the technology side. And I think that's not a great thing to do, because you have so much invested in that product, 6 months of time, effort, ideas, cost, that if it doesn't work, it becomes almost a difficult thing to first to explain, second to rationalize, and then third to get out of it, right? And you're typically using investor money. So what we do now at Checkbook is that we literally have weekly sprints. So anything is something that can get deployed or can get built in a week or a max 2 week time frame. So that allows us to fail without a lot of the consequences of putting in a lot of time. So when you're building something, don't have a situation where you're building something which is going to get, see the light of day in any kind, either on UAT or on staging or in production, and it'll take 3 months, right? And 3 months that there's just development going on and you don't even know what's happening. So break it into modules, tell the tech team, show it to me every week. I want to see something live. I want to see a feature out, etc., etc. It's always possible to break even the most complex product into many modules. And I think that has allowed us actually to make more failures because we've seen something after a week and I said, okay, this is rubbish. Let's go back to the drawing board. This is not at all how I thought it would be when it goes live. I think so. I think these are two aspects which, one is on the fundraising side, get in touch with the CA if you don't know anybody, and he'll know somebody, and that's how you sort of build your network. Don't do cold emails, cold calls, to investors. That typically doesn't work. I think the second one is compress your go live cycle to not more than 2 weeks, irrespective if you're making like a lunar rocket. Figure out a way to break it into something so that you can do it in 2 weeks, at least see some progress, which is live. Yeah.
So that was indeed a kind of a introduction to a product class for all our participants as well. So that was some great insights. Thank you, sir. Now,
Sure.
Ajuka ma'am, when we say that 90% of startups fail, ma'am, what do you think are the major reasons and how can we reduce this percentage?
So, according to me, we also faced it. The first reason would be lack of research. So, the founders get very touchy and emotional about their startup, and ultimately they'll end up doing this mistake, right? And the second reason, according to me, would be that founders fail to assess the existing market for the problem they are solving, right? And the third reason is that nowadays founders, they actually rush towards raising funds from day one. So instead they should build on their venture and make it strong and sustainable, because what happens is when you are raising funds initially, that really don't get you the suitable valuation, right? And the fourth reason, and I strongly believe in it, is a strong team. So a strong team forms the foundation of a company. So according to me, it has to be a very strong team. They have to be in sync. They should know their work completely, and they should know the mission and vision, what they are working for. So that's actually the four reasons summarized.
Those were some remarkable stuff, ma'am. Thank you for the answer. Sort of, sir. As we were talking about funding, as ma'am also talked about funding, you have been in the startup ecosystem for some long now, and you have seen startups raising money. You yourself have gone through some raise recently as well. So, but why is that there's a lot of news and celebration around raising, which actually is not the only parameter for success? And we have seen a lot of startups failing, raising millions and still failing miserably. So, what are the possible reasons for this, and how can we basically reduce the percentage of this eradication?
No, yeah. So Karthik, I totally agree with you. Like, first of all, funding is not the North Star, right? That's not something as founders we should chase. It's a means to build something. It cannot be the end goal. I think most of the time founders make the mistake that they make fundraise as their primary goal and not building the business and solving for the customers. And the moment you start doing that, you will run into all kind of short-term decisions without focus on the long-term vision that you actually started the company with. And like the news article, the world loves to celebrate that you have raised something. And as founders, it's very relevant to get them as much media out. And probably that's why this kind of media has gotten so much attention. I know of companies who have actually raised, say, 5 million, but they have some tranche based commitment of 20 million, and they'll put a PR article saying that we have raised 20 million, or people will say that, okay, including debt equity, if they've raised, they'll say I have raised 100 million, while in reality they would have probably raised 10 million. If you look at the trends, it's just to catch the eyeball and to show themselves as a mature company. That's what it does, but it doesn't really solve the core problem. See, for a business to build, it's a journey. You have to start from 0 to 1. Ideally, when you get to say a 1 million kind of a number, you should have a strong product market fit, which can help you go 1 to 10. And then funding is supposed to come in those cycles. So I think initial seed funding is supposed to come in to help you find product market fit. But the mistake people make is that in a lot of times founders go and pitch to investors. And after taking money from them, they try to stick to the same thing, even if it's not working. They try to come up with some proxy ways or some early signs showing that this is working, when at the heart, 90% of the time, a founder knows what is working and what is not working. So it's just ability to not accept, or rather present that what I said is not working now and I have to switch. That's, I think, one of the biggest reason because of which founders kind of push through, and at times they burn millions of dollars. But it's important for people to kind of being very objective about it and just accept failures and pivots being part of the journey. Like a lot of the best companies in the world didn't start like that. Like Paytm started as a vast service, right? Not as a wallet. And they pivoted after raising $12 million and 12 million back in those days, not today's time. So it's a whole, like, it's okay to pivot, and it should not be very random, but it is okay as long as you have given a fair shot to the idea that you had and the data is saying it's not working. And if people make the right pivots, they would end up successful. They might have to do many of them, but yeah, if they do it at the right time, they will be successful.
Well, sir, thank you so much. Those were some great insights from the funding investment cycles, and as well as how to pivot at the right time, why it is important. So, sorry. On that, sir, Vipul, sir, you have been a product guy yourself. And when you are building a product, or let's say a startup, we pivot sometimes and we invert from the initial ideas as well. The reason may be subjective. The point is, successful businesses have inverted a lot. So, how can a startup founder learn to adapt to situations and acknowledge the uncertainty which comes with business building?
Yeah, so I think startups typically have a lot of moving parts. Some which are sort of current moving parts, which are product development, what you're doing, etc. But there's also contracts. There's regulation. For example, in fintech, there's a lot of regulation, and you also have uncertainty around funding. So there are definitely lots and lots of moving parts. How is your team going to be, etc. So it is therefore important to, like I was saying earlier, not have too much invested in an outcome which is going to take a long time, right? And therefore break up your sort of product cycles into much smaller periods. I think the other aspect is, and I keep saying this all the time, there's this, Hindi phrase which says, jungle mein nache more, right? I don't know how many of you understand Hindi or not, but basically, if you have a peacock and it's dancing in the forest, nobody cares, nobody sees it, right? So it's great, but you need to be able to put your product out in front of a few people, and to be able to show it to them, whatever product it is, it needs to have people who are going to use it. And these days, if you know a little bit about Figma, you know a little bit about, if you use Google Docs, you can pretty much come up with a decently working prototype just in Figma alone, right? Early days, I used to do it on Sketch. Now, everybody switched to Figma, and we still use Figma. It's the go-to thing. I will sit with the main guys, and we basically go to Figma screens and poke holes in it. So if you're not doing that in the initial days and actually building a prototype which you can load up on your phone and just show it to a few people, I think those kind of continuous feedback works wonders in sort of getting information whether something is working or not working. But I think the larger perspective is what is the true goal that you're going after, right? From a customer perspective. So if you are, in my case, for example, I want to get, small business owners access to financial services, right? Quality, efficient, fast financial services. So you could have a couple of different ways in which you could get to that goal. And that would be changes you would want to make to your product structure and so on and so forth. What do you go live first with and later? But as long as you're clear about why you started the company is because you wanted to sort of help or service a set of customers, then the rest of it is means to an end about how you actually get to that point of view. But tomorrow, if I go and say, hey, look, I don't want to do anything for small business owners, I want to do something for the ultra rich, then it's a different company altogether. Nothing wrong with that either, but it's just that you need to obviously convince yourself about it. You need to be sure. And there are many companies which have gone back and said, hey, look, we tried this idea, it's not working, we're going to return your money to investors and we're going to start working on something else. That's also happened. So there's nothing wrong with that either. These are all, like somebody was saying, you have a long-term vision, and the company building is a decadal activity. It takes 10, 15, 20 years. Some of the, originals in India, like Vijay Shekhar Sharma, for example, right? These guys have been around for like more than 2 decades, building Paytm, right? And it's still a struggle, right? Even though it is at such massive scale. So yes, it is not something that changes overnight. I was talking to one of our investors, and they're saying, "Oh, one of my companies is going IPO, and it's still the same struggle, right?" So there is no end to company building, and that is, I think, what is the fun part of it.
As they say, it's always day one.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay, from all of yours beautiful insights, there's a story which came in my mind of Narayan Murthy actually. Narayan Murthy, he was described as the father of the Indian IT sector, has actually been not successful with his ventures in the start. His first venture, a company named Softronics, failed in about a year and a half after its start. After the misfire of his first venture, Narayan Murthy joined Patni Computer Systems and worked there for about 5 years. He then founded Infosys in 1981 along with six software professionals and a merged capital provided by his wife, actually, Sudha Murthy ji. And now Infosys is today India's fifth largest publicly traded company and the third largest Indian based IT services company. And that's actually great to know. So, so let's talk about entrepreneurship, startups. As I already talked to Saurav sir, that you have been working in great companies like Oracle, Amazon, and even Microsoft. How that the shift came from working for such big companies to starting your own venture? Actually, we want to know the backstory of the same, sir.
Sure. So the idea started with a very simple thought process that in US people love and are very proud about working at Microsoft, or for that matter, Google's Mountain View office. So we thought, why is this pride restricted to just a couple of companies and their prima headquarters? We thought that people in India are working hard enough, and arguably they are smarter. So they should get the same benefits, and there should be pride in working for all companies in India. That was the genesis of the idea. But the broader, like what kind of drove me and my co-founder to come to India and start was, like, while working at Microsoft, we realized that whatever we do will not be able to change Microsoft course of action. While there's a huge impact as an organization, but as an individual, we never felt that we could make any dent in Microsoft's impact life. Like whether I'm there or not, Microsoft as an organization will run and will continue to run. And that's where kind of drove to come back to India, start a startup where we can actually change lives. Now, from an entrepreneurship experience point of view, when you're working in a large organization, since most of our crowd is that, let me address that as well. So when we're working in a large organization, we're kind of doing our job. So we're focused on one skill, like I was in development on the product side. So we're constantly developing. But once you start, it's a whole different life altogether. You are doing everything that you never even thought you would be doing. So you have to become kind of a master of all the things, or rather at least above average in everything, especially in the starting days. It's just pretty much mostly you and your co-founder and maybe a couple of more other folks who are helping you. But that's the most fun part about the entrepreneurship journey, in which, and something you dread as well, because you end up doing anything and everything, and there's new learning every day, but there's new challenge every day as well.
Thank you, sir. And when you were saying these things, that the initial people who are starting the company should know almost everything from designing to even product building to even marketing. That is one of the most important things, I also believe, because the team which will come afterwards has to follow their vision, their expertise in the same. So, in order to take out work from people in your team, you have to know everything from the bottom to the top. So, Vipul sir, what was your journey to starting checkbook.com, and how that did shift happen from working in banks to actually opening your own checkbook.com?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest dhakka that you get is when you stop getting your salary after you quit. Okay, that always pinches. I'm sure whoever's worked as well, it always pinches no matter what you do. So that is one. I think the second thing is, for a lot of people, there's an identity you kind of get attached to because of the place that you're working and so on and so forth, and that identity basically goes to zero, right? And you basically have to build up that again. I think that these are two sort of obviously big steps that you have to take. But the reality is that, and I think India needs, thousands and thousands and thousands of more entrepreneurs of all backgrounds. In fact, I would actually recommend that people work for a few years in companies, ideally small companies, which have high risk of failure, and actually get a feel of what's happening in those companies rather than working at big companies. And then decide whether you want to maybe start a startup, and go down the entrepreneurial way, or maybe use that work experience you have in small companies and actually work in a big company. Because nowadays big companies also appreciate, a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit, right? So that's actually a great way to kickstart sort of the career. I think for me, it was also, so apart from these two trepidations that I had and, how I'm going to navigate that, I think the other aspect was not that difficult, because I think the other aspect that is there is that, when you are convinced that what you're going to do is something that's you are 100% convinced about, and that you will be able to persevere and run through that, it doesn't feel like a choice. And I think that's when you really are ready to become a startup founder, is when the alternative is not something that's weighing on your mind. So it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter in my head that, okay, I'm going to lose my salary, or I'm not going to have a job in this, in one of the, banks and so on and so forth. Because it was super clear to me that, okay, this is the right way. And I'm not saying that starting up is the right way, but I think the crossroads that people come to and then decide, and that's the feeling that you will always need to dig deep and understand which is the right way. And if you know that, then it doesn't feel like a choice. It doesn't feel like you're sacrificing something. So if you feel like you're sacrificing something and you're starting up, then you're probably not ready to start up, right? only when it feels like this is the only direction that you can take, and this is the no-brainer decision. Like I can, pretty much take the same decision, completely drunk as well, and it still be the same decision. Then you go ahead and take that decision. Then it's a simple choice. It's not a choice at all, actually.
That actually gave us a lot of clarity, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. Ajuka ma'am, uh, can we know your story as well, that how this aviation industry of yours started, and what led to the shift and bringing out the app Book My Jet? Ma'am, please share your story.
So I would definitely agree with Vipul and Saurabh. You should love what you're doing, right? So I started off my career in general aviation only. So I'm the first saleswoman of the industry. So, and our industry is very unorganized. So there are many loopholes. And me and my partner, who's my husband now, we decided to get into our own venture to to fill that gap. So because customer service or servicing the client is our priority. So both of us, since our childhood, we are being passionate about airplanes, and that actually landed us to this profession. So we are very passionate about the flights we do, the charter flights we do. We want the client, because we do flights for travel agencies as well. They have foreign clients coming into India and flying to different destinations. So we just want them to go happy back to their country, because that actually helps our country to grow, right? So uh, our industry was and still is very unorganized, and that actually made us do a lot of work in Book My Jet. We just wanted to make booking very simple, very easy, because I get calls and people really don't know about the aircraft. They have the money to hire the aircraft, but they don't know about it. So our app makes it very simple. You have fleet of aircraft there. You would know the seating capacity. You would know how it looks from inside. You would even know how much it will cost. So that actually gives you a rough idea of how much it will cost, what will be my expenses, whether I should take or not. And we have offers running in on the app, wherein a common man like you and me also can afford a private jet. So we that was the main reason of coming up with the app actually. So it is not limited to the who's and who's of the world. It can be hired by anybody. It's as simple as a seat to Delhi to Jaipur can cost you even 10,000. So anybody would be up for it. So these are the few things we have developed in Book My Jet, and that is actually helping people who wish to fly, uh, you know who need to fly. So that is all about it.
Well, that's a story, ma'am. Thank you for that. Let's come back to the failure aspect we were talking from the start, the theme, that is misfires. And now my question is open for all the panelists. You can take up. So the question is that we always say that startups never fail. It's the founders who fail, or the founders who could not make it. So why is it so? Why is it that we always blame the founders? Why is the same? So it's open for all of you to answer.
Let me take a stab at it. I kind of disagree to this statement where people saying that founders fail. Of course, I can see why people are making that assumption, because founder is like the captain of the ship and they are maneuvering the ship in different directions. So if the ship sinks, then you can blame the decision maker. But there are a lot of factors which can lead to failures. Like the market might not be right timed. There were so many companies in the social network before Facebook happened, or before that Orkut happened, and now Instagram happened. So the timing of a solution is, in fact, I would say, the most important thing. It's even more important than the idea itself, that whether the idea is at the right time or not. So there are a lot of other factors which kind of lead to failures. So I would say in 60 to 65% cases, it's not the founder who is directly responsible for failure, but it's pretty much other things. But there are cases when founders make the decision, when say there's a founder split, and at least 30% of the companies fail globally because founders were not able to make it work with each other. Those are the places you can blame individual folks, but otherwise it's more usually the market and a lot of maybe the macro factors, the climate, the funding climate, and a lot of other things plays a role in terms of companies' failure.
Yeah, and I kind of second that, right? So I think founders don't fail. They get up and just keep building, right? I think that's absolutely the hallmark of a great founder. You'll go from idea to idea, and if you have to, and even within your own company, you'll keep sort of iterating, making sure things are. And usually the best founders will be the ones who will not be afraid to try something new, even at the risk of it failing, because like if it was incremental, there are enough people in the world doing it already, right? So for a new company to make a space for itself in an already crowded world requires you to do something bold, and there's always a risk of failure in that. Nobody's saying that, hey, you shouldn't fail or you can't fail. It comes with the territory. So don't feel bad about it. Big deal. What really sucks is if you have, for example, there are integrity issues, and you're either fudging numbers, and there's been some of this stuff has been in the news lately with some companies, or there's any kind of integrity issues in terms of the numbers, financials, personal gain, etc. Right? If you're not doing any of that, you're true to what you believe, and you're honest, and you're putting in 100% of your time and energy, then absolutely no way founders fail. So, I think that's really, and I think for a lot of people who want to, start companies who are maybe on this group or whatever, right? I think it's super important to understand that you're entering risky territory. And that's why there is a lot of VC capital which is available, because they want to bet on those kind of risks, and they all understand, and you should understand as well, that there is a high probability of failure, but you probably get up, learn from that, and go on and build something more or better. And I think that's how this ecosystem evolves, and that's how the best companies get made. Even the Tatas at some point didn't have any customers, right? They did their first sale. And now look at the institution they have built. So everything starts from there.
Yeah, even I would disagree with this statement, because at least the founders, they have the courage to build something that may succeed, that may not succeed. So Kartike, even you said that Narayan Murthy's first venture couldn't succeed, but Infosys everybody knows of. So yes, I would agree with Vipul and Saurabh. They have covered the major things. So yes, founders shouldn't be blamed for a failure.
Actually, this question was my personal question because it resonates to me as well, because I started two companies at the third year of my engineering. One was Subgrowth and one was Campus Monk. So basically, one was a tech company and was one a consulting company. And actually, I quit from both of them due to some reasons, due to immaturity as well. But now I am working in an ecosystem where I get to learn things from people like you. So you never know, a new startup or unicorn must be coming in a way. Uh, so, and ma'am, now my question is, how can we change the basically uh, how can we change the culture around failures or tips to actually bounce back? There are times that in startups we need to pivot, or maybe we see a drought. So, how can we bounce back from situations, and how can we learn to actually adapt to those situations? What should be the mindset? Please share your thoughts.
Um,
You,
let me
you're asking everybody, or you're asking somebody
Yeah, yeah.
specifically?
Now every question of mine is open to everyone.
Okay. I'll go first. I think, look, I think if there's somebody, so this is again a learning that you have as a founder, right? So if there's somebody who's started a failed, started a company and it's failed and is looking for a role, he's literally at the top of my list if I'm looking at hiring anybody. Like, absolutely. If you were a founder, an ex-founder for failed startup, man, that guy is like the best hire you can ever get in a company. And that is by far because he's actually gone down a journey that I still haven't gone down, which is failing at something on his startup, right? And that has a learning which is immeasurable. Because it's an emotional roller coaster. And I'm not saying I haven't come close to it. I've come close to it many times. I'm sure all of us have. But still, so yes, I think there is absolutely, this mindset that maybe some people have, you failed and, startup बंद हो गया, etc. Boss, CV भेजो, right? लोग तैयार हैं आपको hire करने के लिए. You're literally top of the list. I don't know, Ajuka, Saurabh, Manish, what do you guys think? But for me, I see a CV of an ex-founder, from day one kind of a guy of a failed startup. He's at the top of the pile. And we will try and find him him or her a role.
I kind of second Vipul here. So in Advantage Club itself, we have 8 ex-founders working right now, and
Wow.
yeah, so and they work on the most exciting new things typically because we find them having the most burning desire to do something different, and that's where we feel they're best suited for at Arco as well. So yeah, I think first of all, as a culture, as a whole society, I think the fundamental problem, the way we have been brought up in our schooling system is also like pass or fail, right? And that goes to 10th, 12th, maybe engineering or any other degree. That's always pass or fail. I think we need to get past that. It's all a journey, and it's very important to understand that every person has their own journey, and failures are just one of the other milestone in that journey which will help you get to your end goal. And whatever that end goal might be, it might be building a unicorn, it might be building a 2000 crore profitable startup, which is of course better than unicorn, or going and working and building with someone else in their company, small or large. So it's all a part of a journey, and we need to stop looking at it as a failure altogether and just be more accepting that this is all part of someone's journey. And if someone failed, it means they tried, which is a big thing itself. And of course, they learned a lot in that process, and probably they hustled the hell out of it. So it's something we should respect more than look down upon.
Yes, even I would agree with Vipul. See, I think I have a little bias toward founders, being a founder myself. So founders, they have this burning desire. They are passionate about what they do. Doesn't matter if they fail or they succeed, and they are self-motivated. You really don't need to motivate them. You tell them the task, they will do it by hook or by crook. So I think they have this advantage with them, and definitely, we have people who have failed in their ventures, and now they are really successful in my company, and we would love to even hire more of them. So yeah.
Okay, on that hiring note and team building, actually, we have a lot of questions from the panelists, from the attendees here as well. And the major questions are targeted towards team building. So let me take, here's Himanshu, Ashish, Shreya, all of them are asking about team building. So let me take one question. There's a specific question for Ajuka ma'am as well. What should be the qualities I should look for in my startup partner so that my partner uh, basically sorry so that my startup partner and my startup doesn't fail. So let us now talk on how can we build the right team so that we can basically bring in a strong members who can build the base of the team or the startup we are going to have. So let's talk on team building, some few insights from all of you.
I'll just take up my question, which is being asked to me. So, 90% of the startups fail because of wrong partners, and the companies break. The partnership companies, only 10% succeed. So I think I'm fortunate enough that my partner is my husband. So we are inseparable no matter what. We do have fights for. We do fight every day. When it comes to our profession, we have different point of view, and but we are in sync. So ultimately, we come to a solution rather than fighting and coming back home. So that is a very important quality that your team members needs to be in sync. They should, and everybody, like I handle finance and sales in my company. My husband handles marketing and aircraft sales and purchase and sales, and we do have sales in common, but he handles marketing more, I handle finance more. So we do expertise in those fields, and we don't interfere in each other's work. Whatever call I take in finance, he doesn't have a clue of it, and he doesn't even want to interfere because that's my area. And I'll make sure that things go fine. Even if I do something wrong, I make sure that I make it right. So that actually goes for marketing as well with him. So that's the sync I was talking about in my first second answer. And it is very much required, to have the right partner and to have the right team member. Thank you.
Gaurav sir, on team building, how to build a right team and how can we select people who are actually going to resonate with our idea and vision and stick to the team so that we can actually build a unicorn or as in your words, a 200 crore startup.
So basically, see, team building starts from, of course, co-founders. So as co-founders, I totally agree with Ajuka that one, you need to have your own space, you need to have complementary skill sets, and you need to have, most importantly, mutual respect to allow the other person and trust the other person's decisions. But the moment you start stepping outside co-founders, it's actually even more challenging because you're typically an unknown brand working out of probably a garage or maybe a basement, and unable to pay the money that market is paying. To kind of building that team as the initial team is the hardest part of the journey, but it's also very critical to kind of identify where all you can't spend your own time or you don't have the skill set to build yourself, and to hire people, and you have to sell the vision to them, and you have to convince them on what you're building is worth spending their time in. Because if this fails, then as a employee who worked with you initially, they would probably not be credited to the amount of work they would do in the process. So it's very important for them to understand that, one, this is very important, and two, this will be successful. And I always tell all my early hires, or rather I told them, now we're a little larger, now we're like a 220 people team. But in the early days, I used to tell them that, imagine if you are the first 10 people who built Microsoft, there's so much disproportionate growth in your career and the impact you could create if you are the first 10 people. Even in like Indian ecosystem, if I meet someone who's among the first 10 members in Zomato, they would do wonders. Like Alvinder is one of them who started Grow First. Similarly, first person Samir from Nolarity started Crownet. So if you look at those guys, they have gone places because they were part of a team, for initial team, which kind of built such a huge organization. So that has always been my sales pitch, that if we build something large, of course I'll benefit, but the next people who will benefit the most would be the initial team. But identifying the right people, and that point, it's very important as a founder to look for, of course, skill set, but more importantly for the culture. And that's why in the like previous answers, we all were so excited about hiring entrepreneurs, because we believe that one of the things they will definitely tick box will be the cultural fit. So it's very important initially that hire for culture and passion, and then they can learn the skill on the job.
So this is what I get, that skills are temporary. It could be given to people. The person can acquire those skills, but the passion and the ambition or the mindset is permanent when we talk about building a team. Sir, Vipul sir, actually, I have a question directed to you from Rahul. He's from Birla
Yeah.
Global University. He asked that, as we know, a hobby of a person could become a best product for a startup, and this will keep the runner persistent. But it is not sure that the product came out like that will be useful to many. Most of the startups with this motive have started but few have touched the sky. May I know that it is really required to stick to your hobby or to search what is needed at that time?
Uh, I think hobbies are something you do in your free time, right? So that's for recreation or whatever. Um, I think if you're building something of value, there has to be obviously some meat in it. It has to be of certain value for other people as well. It can't just be your thing because you're not going to be consumer of your own product, etc. So I think from that point of view, you have to be very clear as to what you're building. The second thing is that startups are no hobby. Let me tell you, right? Startups are 18 hours of backbreaking work, initial few years with no holidays at all, right? For the first 3-4 years, you can forget about Saturday, Sundays, and holidays, etc. And I think that's so. Yeah, I mean, if that's how you treat your hobby, like you do it all the time for 4 years, 5 years, sure, then maybe your hobby can become a pro.
So one more question to you from Gatij. This As a startup, how can I ensure that I have an impressive balance sheet in which investors are ready to invest?
Yeah, I think maybe take your parents' money. You have an impressive balance sheet, right? If they can spare some. But I think when you start, obviously you don't have. But just a corollary to that, of course, the question doesn't have much merit. But when you start your company, you should tell yourself that for at least 1,000 days, you won't get any salary, right after you quit your job. And I'm just saying 1,000 days is a ballpark. It's pretty much around 3 years, right? And then if you get lucky before that, great. But you should be clear. So I think it's kind of important to build some money which you can fall back on, and it could be your money, it could be your friends and family, it could be your parents as well. I mean, a checkbook. My first check was actually from my dad. It was a small one because that's all that could come in. But and that really shows how much you can convince people and how convinced you are. Because if I wasn't convinced about it, I would ask my parents to invest in it, right? Like, that's how I feel about it. So yeah, and they took a big risk as well. And that's true for people like, even Amazon. The first investor was Jeff Bezos' parents. So it's something that you can definitely do. And it doesn't have to be a big amount, whatever. But have some money so that you can survive for a couple of years. That's important. Have the initial investment, something that comes in from friends and family. That's also a good thing, because if you're able to convince your near and dear, then it obviously means you have something. They know you, right? They know your personality. They will also tell you bluntly on the face कि ये बकवास है, ये hobby है, ये business नहीं है, for example, right? So that is also a reality check. And then of course you can go ahead and then raise more money and capital and so on and so forth. And then the people who initially invested get massive returns. I think a $50,000 check in Amazon, the first check, some of them, ended up making like 100 million, 200 million off that $50,000. It's insane. Life, generational changing money. So I think that's how I would put it. And I think the other aspect which you should also think about is when you're getting in. So if you're a team of people who come together and start a company, then maybe have everybody put in some money. Like, for example, the founders and the co-founders, because it is going to be a long journey. And I think however, if you started it and then you get other co-founders in, then when they come in, that they should invest as well, because that is skin in the game. So I think that's another way in which you can start getting ahead.
Thank you, sir, for taking that question to such level and elaborating in such a way that we got some great insights. I believe that we have came to the end of today's discussion. It was a very small one, and I would like to have any closing remarks from your and panelists for today, if you like the session or something. on just a closing note from each one of you.
Let me go ahead. So this, I think the topic is very interesting, and it is the biggest fear a founder, I think, has when starting up, that what would happen if I fail? What will people think about me? But I hope during this conversation, we all were able to convey that, although I didn't say that at least I am very successful, I'm sure Vipul and Ajuka are, but at least wherever we have gotten, we have seen a lot of failures in our journey, and it's all part of the journey. So please go ahead and start up. And if it doesn't work out, then start another one or come to one of us.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No, absolutely. I think it's very important that actually India has far more entrepreneurs and people and founders than we have today in every single field, right? And it's always going to be a struggle to start a company and to sort of run it, build it, etc. It is still for me as well at Checkbook. It's a daily struggle. There's no debate about it. But is it worth it? Yeah. I mean, as long, every day I walk out of the lift in our office, I have a spring in my step, and I'm pretty excited about the day. And that is what finally counts on any given day. So yes, and don't wait too long. But I would definitely recommend working a few years in a small company and then starting up, because you'll get a sense of what goes into it. And I think that is an important aspect of it. So yeah, sure, for sure. Definitely start up. Don't be afraid of failure at all. You are your only judge, right? And there's nobody else who can judge you. And in any case, even if you fail, the market is, literally waiting with wide open arms to accept and give you more interesting stuff to work on.
Yes, even I would agree with the same. Failure is a part of journey. There is no foolproof plan of no failure. It's a risk, and founders take it. So yes, don't be afraid of failures. You ultimately you get to learn, and you won't be repeating that mistake again. So yes, and today also learning was a part of my session. I learned a lot from Vipul and Saurabh. So thank you so much for the insights, and I'm definitely going to, like inculcate the same in my company as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks to you guys as well. I think really nice. Good session actually. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And ma'am, thank you everyone for highlighting the core competencies of businesses, and especially on what need not to be done when it comes to running a startup. Thank you for sharing the importance of keeping a hope and strategy to actually pivot back again in the market with double preparation, and how a modulation in terms of personalization is what keeps a business going. I believe I express my sincere gratitude, and I would like to thank all the panel members and the audience, my AIC BIMTECH team, as it was the last session of Connect 2023, who supported for the smooth conduct of this event. And at the last, because it's a virtual event and we do not have photographers here, I would like my panel members to just give me a quick 3 second of smile so that I can screenshot, and my teammates so that he can screenshot for our social media. So here we go. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, Saurav sir. Thank you, Vipul sir. Thank you, Ajuka ma'am. It was wonderful listening to all of you. We got some great insights. Personally, I got to learn a lot, and hoping to see you all soon, maybe in some other session or a podcast. Actually, we are going to build that vertical as well in the coming times. So, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. We will see you all very soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. Thank you,
Bye.
Thank you
Karthikeya,
to
for
our
amazing moderation. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
system partner as well, GN
Thank,
University and GL Bajaj. Thank you so much.
thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, ma'am. Thank you.
Insightful session.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I request everyone.
Yes, yes. So please fill the feedback form that we have shared within the chat. And on the basis of those feedback form only, we'll be providing a certificate, right? So please don't miss out the form. And thank you so much to GN University and GL Bazaar's Institute of Management and Research. Thank you.
Well, that that feedback form is actually a prerequisite for all the participants participation certificate as well. So fill on those forms, and don't forget us to like and basically follow us on LinkedIn especially. We'll be coming up with a lot of programs in the coming time, and thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope you have a good day. uh, that was from the AIC BIMTECH team. My name is Karthik Menon. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.